What I'll explain in this video is on the request of a subscriber, and it is about your internal economy. Now, what is an internal economy? Your internal economy is how you relate to your own needs, longings, desires. Why is this an economy? Because the world has deformed you into seeking compensation externally. Now, as a human being, you're not an independent being. I already explained that. Especially those who received the two documents, one about Python sparrows and the other about which language, you understand that by now. You're not an independent creature. So you need other people. You are interdependent. So if you operate in an interdependent manner, you'll be prosperous. However, the world doesn't want you to operate in an interdependent manner, as Christ intends. The world wants you to operate in a codependent manner. There is a big difference between codependency and interdependency. Interdependency is when you contribute to the welfare and the well-being of the community. Based on your ability, you won't exceed your own ability because that will endanger you. Neither will you go below your ability because that would be unfair towards the others. You operate according to your own ability that Christ entrusted onto you. If you are a female, this will be in harmony with your feminine nature. If you are a male, this will be in harmony with your masculine nature. That's interdependency. That's healthy, that's beneficial, and that is prosperous. The world does not want you to operate in interdependency. The world wants you to be codependent. When you are codependent, you've been robbed from your connection to Christ. You've been robbed from knowledge that you are a spirit being and that you have value. So when you're codependent, you seek validation of your value externally. And here's why codependency is almost a norm. Even when people don't want to be codependent, often become codependent. That is because as a spirit being, you need a backup. Now, Christ intended for you to have Him as your backup. But the world tells you, because the world is surrounded by demons, the world tells you to seek backup from society. So when you seek backup from society, which is a fear construct, you automatically become codependent. So codependency is when you rely on compensation for the lack of tranquility on the inside. And all economies of the world, all I'm saying, the world's economy is all about meeting frustrated needs that will remain frustrated because the world only offers compensations, not the real thing, because only Christ has the real deal. So, how does this work? How do people become codependent? Codependency is a norm in the world. Most people won't acknowledge this, but it is a norm. Narcissists are also codependent, but to them it goes far deeper. With them, the codependency has turned into this delusion of exceptionality. What I mean with that is they want to be accepted. Not accepted with an A, accepted with an E. So they want to be relieved from all natural obligations. And now they depend heavily on others to validate this delusion. And that's the deal with narcissists. Anytime you're about to leave this codependent mechanism that society installs into you, people tend to turn on you. Because codependence amongst each other, they need each other to be anxious so that they feel comfortable with one another. Let me say it one more time. Codependence amongst each other can't stand it if you have natural confidence. Because when you have natural confidence and you operate in your natural Christ-given autonomy, and operating in your Christ-given natural autonomy will be safe. There will be no greed and all that in it. But once you operate in that natural autonomy, codependents become terrified of you. Because codependents rely on each other to be anxious. So, let me repeat it one more time. Codependents rely on you to be anxious. Because they need each other to be anxious for society to work. Because society is a fear construct. So, this is how you're tricked into this scam by society. And by the way, this is the way the colonizers did it during the colonial era also. But they did it collectively. They come when you are in a need. And that's a natural need. Human beings have natural needs. Okay, so you have your natural needs. They come. First, they don't really bother with you, they're just around. And then they offer some assistance in meeting that need. And you think, why not? You're in need anyway. So they help you out. Because they help you out, you feel at ease. And that's good. But then they frustrate that need themselves behind your back. So then when you need help again, you think, oh, those guys helped me out before. They'll help me again. But this time, they achieve a grip on you without you being aware of it. And before you know it, you have more frustrations here and there. And you think, what's going on here? So then you think, those guys are always been good to me. You know what? I'm going to help them out. So while you're helping them out with a solution, you're actually helping them in enslaving you. And then the mask falls off and the wolves devour you. When you look, for example, at the transatlantic slave trade, it went like this. The locals over there in their countries, the Judeans, they had their issues in their societies. Because, of course, many of them were not saved. They were worldly people also there. And you had prisoners. When a prisoner was released, he or she had to be incorporated in society again. But because prisoners are often the scapegoats of society, whether they were guilty or not, reintegration in society tends to be difficult. So then those Portuguese men, those Lusitanians, came by with their fast ships. And they offered programs for former convicts in their colonies, in their overseas territories. So the local authorities and the local kings thought, you know what? Let's do that. Let's give them those Lusitanians, the ex-convicts. Or better, anytime someone's convicted, head them over to the Portuguese. We'll get some compensation for it, which the Portuguese paid. Then, the Portuguese kept coming for trade. Meanwhile, they were kidnapping people. So now, the locals thought, hold on a minute, why are people kidnapped so often? Then they thought, you know what, maybe it's those Muslims that are doing it. And then the Portuguese, who had a reputation of kicking the Muslims out of their country, also offered them help with policing the coast. This was a trap, because it were the Portuguese that were kidnapping people. Later, Spain came and did the same thing. After a while, people noticed that folks were being kidnapped, but the people there were living in wealth And because the amount of folks that were kidnapped was low compared to the whole population, folks tend to turn a blind eye towards it. And the Portuguese traded with them, so there was a gain. So the gain blinded them from seeing the crime that was going on. In 1619, when the English arrived, it became hardcore. Since 1619, many ships went there and kidnapped people. And most of them died in the ocean. They never made it to the Americas. You see what happened here? They hooked the Judeans, or the Negroes, into trusting them. And after they gained the trust, they exploited it. It was only when the region became depopulated in many places that those Judeans realized, hold on a minute, something's terribly wrong here. But it was way too late then. By then, hundreds of ships came yearly to kidnap folks. So then the folks realized, hold on a minute, there are no overseas programs. Those folks that went for work are not coming back. And then they realized, we're in trouble. And then, well, what happened was that the Hamites began to take over the region that was populated by Negroes before. So the Hamites were also accomplices together with the Portuguese, Spanish, the English, and other colonial powers from Western Europe. Now, they did this hooking you thing on a collective scale. And millions lost their lives. Tens of millions. Individually, that's how society works. They hook you with the promise that when you comply and you give yourself over completely to this structure, you'll be happy. You'll be accepted. You'll be embraced. And you'll never have problems again. But of course, this promise never materializes. You have one problem after the other, one issue after the other, and it's never solved. And it is only when you're exhausted and in your 40s, having a 9 to 5, and you don't have any other financial options, that you realize, oh dear, I've been scammed. That's how society works. Even before capitalism became the norm, this is how society works. They hook you, they overwhelm you with short-term benefits, and because of that, you become codependent. And you become frightened of leaving codependency. And that is the security society has. So it's you becoming a security for society instead of you being secured in society. In narcissistic families, it's obvious this is happening. For example, you can have a small girl. She is degraded whenever she is happy about herself. Being happy about yourself is a natural human thing. But in narcissistic families, you're not allowed to do that. So that young girl may grow up ending up marrying a narc because she has been conditioned to seek the energetic supply from others. And then she realizes when she's around her 30s that, oh dear, where's my internal economy? Don't be afraid. When you align yourself with Christ, you'll learn to operate in your natural autonomy as a female. So wherever female is listening to this, and this applies to you, fear not. Christ got this. So, the first thing to do is to acknowledge you've been scammed. But also realize it's not your fault you've been scammed. However, you received an option now. Take that option to walk in your deliverance and in your true freedom. Be at peace.